Mnanisikia? Sipendi kuongea na hizi vitu. I'm very loud. So we'll start. Thank you for coming in good time. I hope you're enjoying your breakfast. I'll ask my colleague Maureen to pass the mic around. We'll just introduce ourselves. Tell us your name, your organization, or what you do that has made you to be here. Because squeezy, kazi nika, we do many things. So whatever has brought you here today, just tell us what you do, if you're out, which county you're coming from, and your expectation. What do you expect out of this? So this is a media forum. In the room, we have journalists that we've worked with for a few years in White Ribbon Alliance Kenya. And we also have, I don't know how to call it, some of our partners that we are working with in a particular project that is going to be a long-term project for about 5 years. So we brought them on the table so that we can, mingle, network, and because they have a lot of agenda for media in the next 5 years, they can just get to know you, you get to know where you can source your stories from, how they can help you, how you can help them. So it's a meet, chat, network, and eat. Welcome. So we'll start with introductions, and then we'll move to the next agenda.
For the cameras.
Your name, what you do that has made you to be here this morning. Like I sell clothes sometimes.
Columnist with Nation Media, and my expectation today is to meet new people, to network, to engage, and to learn something new. Karibuni Nairobi.
Hata wewe karibu.
Hata mimi karibu Nairobi.
Let me stand out of the way.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rachel Ombaka, Vice Chairperson of the Association of Media Women in Kenya, known as AMWIC. I am from Siaya County, but a lot of people think I'm from Nairobi County. Really excited to be here, especially because I'm seeing new faces. I love to meet new people. Some people call me a woman's woman. So if I try to recruit you today into AMWIC, please forgive me. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. But on a serious note, midwives is a very sensitive topic that is close to most of our hearts. So I'm hoping that we can learn more, hear from each other, and also share and agree on the way forward. Because 2023 inakam, sindio? Thank you. Oh, my bad. AMWIC is an organization that supports women in the media, not just practicing women, but interns as well, or those who've graduated. So it's free, not free, sorry, for women to join. If you're still in school, you pay 1,500, and if you are already employed, you pay 3,000. That's per year. So aside from supporting women, we also train women in terms of gender reporting, elections reporting, depending on which field you're interested in. And then we also offer support in terms of psychosocial, safe houses for victims of sexual harassment. That is women in the media who have undergone sexual harassment. We also offer legal services, not because we are lawyers, but because we partner with lawyers, we partner with counselors. We do a lot of things, so if you have some free time, kindly feel free to log into our website, www.amwic.org. Thank you.
I'll give this to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Rispa Diambo. The reason why I'm here is because we are part of the organizations that are implementing We Lead project. And my expectation is on how we can engage the media and make them our allies concerning the project that we are implementing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Purity Omariba. I am the communication officer at Inuka Success Organization. I'm from Kisumu County, but currently we're implementing in Garissa County. My expectation, I expect to learn and relearn. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay, I'm Clarissa Abua from Siaya County, organization Women Empowerment CBO. I'm project assistant. My expectation today is to learn more about media, how we can engage media when implementing our project.
Jamani, sasa wale wenye tuko na phobia microphone tunasimama wapi? Good morning everyone. My name is Tracy Iminza Asaza. I come from Women Empowerment CBO from Siaya County. I work with Clarice. Women Empowerment CBO is implementing We Lead project. Just as Rispa said, we work with young women living with young women with disabilities, and young women living with HIV. Basically, we just advocate for their sexual reproductive health rights. My expectation today is, si tunaweza ongea Kiswahili na Kiingereza, si ndio? Si ati tunaongea tu lugha moja jamani, si ndio? So expectation yangu leo ni kuwa there are stories in the community. Kuna wasichana wadogo wadogo in the community that are really going through like we were in a forum, was it yesterday, Clarice, or Juzi? Yeah, and there was a girl, Aki, she's really going through. So I would really wish like hizo voices za mashinani zisikike hadi huku juu pia. Thank you.
Oh, there are some people online. Oh my goodness. Nikishika hii na nitaanza kuomba kura hapa. Okay, I'm Victor Nonyango Tieno, director in Inuka Success Organization. We work in Kisumu. Let me say we work in Nyanza, Kajiado, and Garissa. I think the purpose why we are here today is that we are part of COA, that is Community of Actions, organization that are implementing We Lead project. At the same time, I've happened to be part of the grassroots campaigners under push. So we also advocate for midwifery within the DAB, that is within refugee camps. My expectation today is how do we make sure that every story is listened to? That's what's most important why I'm here. And I'm happy because I'm seeing some people we've interacted with, people like Odera. They know how I make noise when it's come to advocacy. So I just want us to understand, how do we make sure these stories that are down in the grassroots are listened to? I can say, journalists always come, wanafika pale Garissa alafu wanarudi wanasema, wanashika tu kidogo. Awapiti hapo, wafike Dadaab, wafike Hifo, Adagera, then they get the stories. And then when you want to take them there, the cost can make you run away. So I believe when we are going to come out from here, we have women within the refugee camps, and they need their story to be captured, and they are willing to share. So if I am able to go there and come back, you are also able to go there and come back. So welcome to Dadaab. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I have a flu. My name is Francisca Ndinda. I come from Matare, a radio station called Matare Radio. And my expectation today is I want to connect. I've already seen my interest, where my interests are. So, yeah, I hope when I approach you, hautanilenga.
Good morning. My name is Victoria Wamboi. I'm a journalist dealing with human interest stories, sexual gender-based violence, and anything to do with women empowerment. I'm a former radio presenter and a former studio technical operator at MediaMax. And my expectation today is to learn from AFOSI, Action for Sustainability Initiative. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Gadhoni Kuria. I am a freelance journalist. I work with a lot of media houses and establishments. So I am glad to be here because what White Ribbon is doing is a cause that is close to my heart. I'm also representing FemHub at this time. And yeah, I hope to interact, find opportunities, also be able to put stories out there because these stories need to be out there, not only just within the walls of hotels and boardrooms. We need to get this out there. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Saida Swale. I am a journalist, lakini in the spirit of kuzungumza Kiswahili, nitazungumza lugha ya Kiswahili. Nafanya kazi na shirika la BBC. Mimi ni mtangazaji na ni mwandishi. Napenda sana mambo ya afya. Nimeandikwa katika kitengo cha afya. Mambo ya kina mama na mambo ya afya ya kina mama yananihusu sana na nayapenda sana kwa sababu yako nasi. Hivi majuzi tulimpoteza mmoja wetu, mwanahabari mmoja wetu ambaye alifariki wakati wa kujifungua. Sasa inamaanisha kuwa sio ati masuala au matatizo ya kujifungua yako vijijini peke yake, yako hapa pia. Na tusipoyazungumzia tutakuwa tumeangusha kina mama wengi na wasichana wengi ambao wanatuangalia. Hii leo kando na kuja kula kiamsha kinywa kizuri sana hapa Kempinski, nimekuja kukutana nanyi, kuwajua na kujua ni wapi kuna taarifa nzuri ambazo tunaweza kuzidi kuzifuatilia na kuzidi kupaza sauti za mwananchi. Asanteni.
Kwa Saida yake ni Kiswahili kitukuzwe, kwangu ni kifukuzwe. Anyway, my name is Larry Otaba. I'm from an organization called Population Media Center. And our core mandate is to tell stories, basically. As in, let me just simplify it and put it that way. Our approach is unique in the sense that we use radio serial drama to pass on this information. And in my capacity here today representing PMC, we were selected as an implementing partner by UNFPA in the upcoming project. As Angel mentioned, they have something which is happening, so to speak, from next year through to 2026, I guess. So for the 5-year project, we'll be handling a lot of matters for them, so to speak. And in relation to their core mandate, how we tell the story as PMC is very unique. Like I said, we use radio serial drama. We have worked with them since 2020 on the joint program for the elimination of FGM. And in their 10th country program and the same joint program and matters relating to SRH. I'm sure most of us know what SRH is in this capacity. So I'm hoping that being here, we'll be able to network and partner with organizations such as mine that help mitigate most of what the girl child is going through. And in as much as we are striving for equality in society, we cannot ignore all these other activities which take place alongside the issues that we've just mentioned. So I'm sure in the next coming few months or so, we'll be seeing a lot more of each other, seeing as in our capacity as an implementing partner, we work together with a lot of people in the community. So if you want your story told, I think we're in the right place.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Tieno from Positive Young Women Voices. We mentor and advocate for the rights of young women and girls. We are here to humanize them, and my expectation is to know how the media can get involved, because not all voices are being heard. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Saseni. My name is Melody Wanjiro, working with 36 TV. Ni TV ya mtaa. It's a community-based organization, and currently working with Positive Young Women as a journalist under the We Lead project. But talking about journalists in a community-based organization, there are stories that we do not get to know, because some people just major on stories zenye maybe they make sense, ama watu wengi wanajuana or such. But when you get to the community, there are many stuff that people do not know. You get the boy child pale maybe anadhulumiwa, you get the girl child at the same time anapitia some hardship. So we work with other organizations so that we can try and uplift your girl child and the boy child in the society, whereby maybe the government cannot reach and maybe other organizations who cannot reach. So my expectation, or rather why I am here, is to benchmark, because I've heard some other people from big places around here. So I guess if I approach you, usini push away. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynette Ouma. I work with White Ribbon Alliance as a project officer. I am an expert of policy advocacy. For those who know me, I think we've met in the field of sexual reproductive health, advocating for access of rights of young women, accessing sexual reproductive health, including family planning services. And I think that is the same work, the same line of thought that I'm still advancing at WRA, where we are advocating for the rights of young women and girls to access sexual reproductive health information and services. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lilian Wambua, working with White Ribbon Alliance Kenya in finance. I'm happy to be here this morning. I'm here to learn. My expectation for today is to learn how to continue amplifying voices of the different groups that we work with, the community, and in the counties that we work with.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maurice Mbabu. I work with White Ribbon Alliance Kenya. I'm glad to be in a meeting with all of you today here, and my expectation is to have an interaction section and to ensure that whatever is discussed here has an impact moving forward. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Mimi ndio staki hizi mic kama Victor, but well. My name is Caroline Ruka from the Western Kenya LBKT Feminist Forum. We are based in Kisumu, but generally work in around 9 counties within Western Kenya. Our organization centers intersectional feminism, the core of all our advocacy actions, with the main aim of creating spaces for access for LBQ and ITGNC folks. So the main reason that I'm here is when it comes to media and issues around sexual and gender diverse people, there's always some kind of negative rhetoric or sensational reporting around our issues. So conversations around how do we counter that negative rhetoric to enable access, definitely, some things that I'm interested in. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maura Obiria. I'm a Gender Rights and Nation Media Group. These days I've earned myself a nickname of Madam Gender because I build an identity around gender and development. So I'm here to learn and also network. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Esanjilo. I'm a youth champion for White Ribbon Alliance. I come from Kariobangi North. I do work with adolescent girls in that area on issues of SRH.
Good morning everyone. My name is Kiprono Kelvin. I work with White Ribbon Kenya Alliance. I'm looking forward for an interactive session and also to learn how to amplify the voices from our young girls and adolescents. Thank you very much and be blessed.
Hello, everyone. I have the disadvantage of not knowing how powerfully people made their statements. My name is Sharon Momanyi. I'm a journalist, features editor with Standard Group. I'm a friend. What do you call yourself as an alliance? I'm an alliantee with WRA. I'm happy to be here. I know a number of you, and I'm happy to know those who I don't, as we songa mbele pamoja. Thank you.
I know there are people that I didn't prepare, but what we'll do is, I'm sure you've heard we lead. You've heard many people here saying we lead. So majority of the people in this room, if you're not a journalist, you're an implementing partner for a project we are undertaking, funded by HIVOS, and it's called We Lead. So I'm going to pick some people who I know they will talk to just give you a brief of what the organization is doing for that particular. So We Lead is a coalition of 10 different organizations in different capacities. White Ribbon is one of the 10, providing advocacy, and we'll tell you a little bit about when you see that power up and that power on. But that is the tool that we're empowering the community organizations to help themselves organize themselves better, advocate better at community level. So I'll call Victon. Victon works in Dadaab. He can tell you what they're doing, few challenges women and girls there are facing, and how he thinks media can be a tool for them. Victon will be followed by Ruka. As Ruka said, LGBTQ, is a sensitive topic, but those women and their, sorry. Even in communicating, they face, she, he, they face particularly very unique challenges when accessing our facilities, because our facilities are not tailored to meet their needs. But health is a human right. It's not a privilege. Everybody has a right to be treated better with no discrimination. So Ruka will give us just a glimpse of how Kisumu and how he thinks you guys can partner better. Then I'll call someone from Nyegbo. It's a CBO in Kisumu. He can tell you about, women living with HIV and young women living with disabilities and their challenges. And Afosi, I know they send representatives. I don't know whether they'll be able to talk about them. And Positive. Everybody 5 minutes, so that as we start, the people in the room can see
when we start networking, who do I go to? What kind? Because even the journalists, we know you are, you have a niche. There's something that you interest, but there's an opportunity to expand and get some sweeter, more relevant stories in your field. So I'll start with Victon. Victon, I know you can talk a lot. Don't talk a lot. You have 5 minutes. Yeah.
I'll try, eh? Huh? Okay. Umepatiana mkubwa podium, huh? Okay. Hi everyone. I'll try to be official. Thank you. We work in the DAB, and we started working in the DAB. I think now it is our 2nd year. I want to give you this from the perspective of the We Lead project and the reason why we felt the DAB. At some point, I was second to the DAB when I was around in Form 2 to volunteer as a scout to reach out to the community. And within those 2 weeks, the 2nd week I found myself to be a teacher who is in Form 2. Because one of the greatest barriers was that the scouts who I was training could not listen to what I was telling them in English. And so as I was building Inuka Success, I felt like at some point, I would wish to go back and do something in the DAB. And there We Lead comes, and We Lead has 4 right holders. So for us, we only work on the aspect of young women affected by displacement. I know we call them refugees. For us, we call them women of concerns or people of concerns. Because the word refugees means I'm traveling every day and night, from one country to another. So even the way people communicate about the people of concerns or young women of concerns is sometimes stigmatizing. The second thing is that to date, Kenyan government has recognized that we are people of concerns, but still they have limit when it's come to access to services. Right now we have influx from Ethiopia coming. The largest happened this month actually, the largest number. Do you know that you cannot access health referral services if you are not registered? Registration process can delay even up to 6 months. So at that point, if somebody is delivering and you need you have to go through operation, believe me, that person will die. You can't. You can only access health referral systems opportunities when you are registered. 2, the largest number among if you consider the 200 and plus women, people of concerns, one of the greatest problem again, we have only a total of 3 facilities in Dagale, Agadera, and Ifo, which can offer comprehensive sexual reproductive health services. From one camp like Agadera to the headquarters, Dadaab, which is, we always say they are in Dadaab, but I can assure you that from Dagale to Agadera, it's 1,000 shillings. Yes. Or you will have to walk for close to 6 hours to reach to that center. Yesterday, there was a demonstration of young women at UNHCR calling for quality health services. What did the government do? The government sent the police officers to listen to their problem and to tell them that we are going to respond. Now you can imagine a police officer listening to women calling upon for health services in Dadaab. The second thing that I know it is still a challenge when it comes about culture issues. As Inuka, we've tried to bring young women to be our champions in the community. And this week we were training them on how to document stories within the community. But still, we found that when men are not in that table, they will always say that it was not done. it was very unfortunate that even in the meeting where we were, the health service provider said, ask, where have you been working? If a man is not doing it, then it is not happening. So that is the case. And the big question they were asking us that, who are you working with? And then we had our right holders in the room. And the right holder said, but we have been working with you. And they said, I think we know you. You've been doing some things in the community. It is called that way because the man is not leading the process. And so that is still all there. So this is a society that we really need to demystify a lot about culture. We really need to handle the issue of maslaha. Wangapi wana understand what something called maslaha? Yeah, you realize that women do not make decisions, and men make this decision. I was in the month of June, I think that's my last point, in a meeting with the Garissa Technical Working Group. And the director was there chairing this meeting. And one of the gender members said very well, aliulizwa, do we still beat our women? And they said, ukimpiga vizuri mara ya kwanza, hatawahi fanya tena. We were with NCPD. I felt like walking out because it was my first time in that meeting. And they told me, usitoke. It is also very painful that they don't believe in rape in marriage. And so, if you are raped in marriage, the big question, kama ukwa unataka kuoleka ungeacha. And so these are discussions that were happening in a gender technical working room. And so I ask myself, what is happening at the community? So that is the environment where we operate. And I want to demystify one thing. Dadaab is safe. I don't know when last you people heard that people are killed in Dadaab. There is a lot of stereotype, there is a lot of stigma around it. But I can tell you, come to Dadaab, let's tell this story of these women. Even if you can tell one story, it can change the life. Right now, I have a number of applicants, of young women. They tell me, Victor, I'm done. I did my KCSE in March. What I need is the opportunity to further my education. One of them was here just the other day. I think you met Ramla. Ramla is supposed to further the education, but there's no opportunity. So come tell the story of these young women. The problem is, sometimes we start the journey, we reach along the way, you'll find a lot of carcass of animals. And that is the story you pick and you go back. Tufike kwa kambi, tuseme stories of our women. And on the law, there is Refugee Act 2021 that was launched and started operating this year in February 16th. That act is good, but it has a lot of problems. I've seen us trying to elaborate about a lot of policies. Nobody, no media station is telling the story about Refugee Act. Yet it's one of the laws that was passed with a lot of gaps that need to be addressed. How I wish that we take opportunity to go through that tool and see it's going to qualify for review 2 years. If we can push it so that it can be changed. Because when you are married to a Somali today, you'll want that lady or that man to be a Kenyan. But do you know how many refugees are married to Kenyans in Dadaab, but they are not even allowed to move from Dadaab to Garissa? If I have to bring them here, I have to write letter. The other day, one was arrested at the airport when they came to a training in Nairobi. Just because there was no flight, the flight delayed. So she had to sleep, and so the form expired. Akashikwa, I think it was a training organized by the White Ribbon or Game Trust. I was called, like we are deporting this lady back to South Sudan. Just because of one day. And haikuwa makosa yetu, ilikuwa makosa ya ndege. So those are some of the story we need to tell. That is somebody who was born here. It is the mother who came as a refugee. So I want to tell us there are stories that we need to tell. I can tell them every day, I can tell them every morning, and still, Bwana Odera, zile za Kisumu tuwache kidogo. Tukuje huko, tupige huko za huko kidogo pia, si ndio? Otherwise, thank you so much, and welcome to our world. Thank you.
Okay, I hope I will take 5 minutes. As I said, my name is Ruka. So one thing, what we do is, I said we represent gender and diverse persons, sexual and gender diverse persons. So one thing yenye tumeona tu hapa ni shida is language, yeah? Ilianza na Angel. But like that is something we're used to, yeah? Like that's something that is always here, but the essence of us being in this space is also to teach and allow folks to learn, yeah? So issues around language, especially gender affirming languages, where most of the times we are conditioned to believe that gender or sex is in the binary lenses, whereas that is not the case, and we have like, tuko na power ya Google, we can read, but most of the times watupendi kusoma, so tukisoma, to your information. So like even me as a person, I'm here, identify as an non-binary person, kulikuwa na mtu, I don't know who, but I remember when someone introduced, was saying, hello ladies and gentlemen, Wekatu and others, I'm a hello folks and guys, so that was you? Thank you. So also like that is something that I wanted to highlight because ilikuwa opportunity ya kupeana information. Let's see, Taki pass, pass. But also that is the same thing that happens even when we are reporting as journalists. We look at things in the binary lens and everything is within the binary notions that we exclude. So exclusion of gender diverse people happens when it comes to even language and how we put out things. I will just highlight some of the challenges that we're facing in relation to media. I will not talk about the whole spectrum of challenges we are facing. So in relation to media, I talked about sensationalization of issues and also giving out negative rhetoric. As sexual and gender diverse people, stories zenye zinakuanga hapo ni venye tuna have sex, time tuna have sex na nani na tunafanyaje. Those are the stories. Oh, there was an article that actually also almost caused us harm in Kisumu by Standard Media, and it talked about how gay folks, it talked about, it was a candid conversation around key populations, especially gay and bisexual men, but then how it was framed, how the issues were put out there actually brought harm. There was almost the registration of organizations that are LGBT organizations with the assumption that we are doing recruitment of folks compared to the real information that was happening on the ground that included research and other programs that then were geared in that manner. So one thing that I always like to say is humanize our stories, humanize our intersections. I am not just here as gay Ruka or lesbian Ruka or non-binary Ruka. I am a mother, I am a woman, I am a sister, I am an accountant, I am all those other things, yeah? So humanize the intersections because we are not homogeneous in all our existences. To humanize inasaidia ku bring out the whole issue around a person compared to the sensation and how we do it and why we do it. So, and also like, we talked about the We Lead program and how it has intersection of 4 different right holders. That is LBTI persons, young women with disability, young women with HIV, and young women with disability. So imagine a queer person that has all these intersections, and the only thing that, like we have a member of our organization that is queer and has all these other intersections. The main question when anaulizwa, kwani hauchoki? hauchoki hii discrimination, uko kwa wheelchair, bado unajitafutia tu mashida zingine kwa kukua queer, bado unajitafutia tu mashida zingine, ndio maana umefukuzwa Uganda, like, and those kinds of things, yeah. So then, like, without humanizing these intersections, we don't see the bigger picture. The other thing I would like to highlight is the power of storytelling, and as Fourth Estate, that is like our mandate. When we give out stories, stories have power, but how do we put the stories? Especially, like, we are supposed to give information, yeah, in order to educate the masses, because the masses believe in information that comes from the media houses. But what do we do? Like the LGBT organizations right now in the country are in courts, in the Court of Appeal, to repeal sections of the penal code that criminalize same-sex consensual acts between adults. But what normally happens when it comes to media, as some gays go to court to demand marriages, or gays go to, like, what are they going to court to do? We can give that information, but also give information and talk about, like, these legal instruments. What does the penal code say when we are saying it criminalizes same-sex consensual acts between adults? Yeah, because inakwanga against the order of nature, sindio? Yeah, against the order of nature, for those that know about what the penal code says. But interpretation of the court against the order of nature is any sex that does not lead to conception. Oral sex iko hapa, sex with a condom iko hapo, anal sex with a woman iko hapo, hata kama any man. Any other sex that doesn't lead to, but that is not information we are giving the public, yeah? And this is a public interest case. How about also talk about other international instruments that then support any other person in all their diversities? That is information that can go there, and that is information that the Fourth Estate can help with. Other than that, there is issues around outing. I'm hoping in safe space that nimekuja hapa nimesema mimi Ruka, I am queer, I am non-binary. Kesho, we were in another session, sijui nini, another queer and non-binary. Did I give you consent to put me out there as queer and non-binary? Or because I said it or I told you, then that gives you the information. But also, there was this time awards that were given. There was a human rights award something in the country. And then some footage was taken where a gay man was being given an award. And any single time issues around sexual and gender diverse people came, this clip would be played by all media houses. And what does this do to people? It exposes folks to violence because of stories that we tell. So we can do better, Cindy. See, we can do better. And that is why, that is the essence of this roundtable, so that we can have that conversation around how can we do better to not put people at risk, to pass the right information, and to humanize folks and humanize bodies. That is it from my end. Asanteni sana. Also, we can just continue this conversation. Napendanga maswali, because na juanga kujibu maswali kuliko kuongea sana. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm Clarice from Nyimine Empowerment CBO. We're implementing in Siaya County, Bondo Sub-County. Okay, Nyekbo, in short, Nyimine Empowerment CBO. We are dealing with the two right holders, young women living with HIV, young women with disability. Okay, for us, we are advocating for sexual reproductive health rights for young women, age 18 to 29 or 30. And I'll focus on young women with disability. For us in Nyekbo, our right holders, wako na challenges mingi. Moja ni stigma and discrimination. You get the young women with disability, wanakuwa na stigma na wanakuwa discriminated in the community. then they don't have that power. Hawana voice ya kuwear that thing out because bado hawajajua. So for NYECBO, we always advocate for them to know their rights. Then the second challenge, accessibility to hospitals. In Bondo, West Sakwa ward, unapata ma facilities ziko mbalimbali, so the young women can't access to their facilities. So you get most of them are wanasuffer in their houses, they can't get those services. Then the third one, they have self-stigma. So the young women with disability, hawajaji accept sana. Like they can come out, they access their self-services. Hawana hiyo. Then for us, we had one story. On Tuesday, we had a ERA Speak Forum in Bondo. Then we brought out the ladies, the young women, they talked. Then unapata most of the young women with disability, wako na challenges mingi. They have their stories. Then there was a certain girl, she's disabled. She has a kid, a young boy, 1 year, 8 months old. He's a sickler, aliachwa, akona disabled, hana kazi, kusoma jafika huko mbele. Then there is no support the lady is getting, but watu wa BBC walikuja wakachukua hiyo story yake. We hope atasaidika. But again, we need other media to come in, get these ladies talk about themselves, how they can be helped, ili hata watu wa juu, not only in Siaya County, but other counties pia, they get the stories, they know how they can help, the feedback they can give. So hiyo kama media anaweza tusaidia hapo, inaweza kuwa poa. Sindio? Sindio, Angel? Aki tunaomba wakuje kwa ground. Aki huyo msichana anasafa. Aki anasafa sana. I wish tungewaonyesha nini yake. Foto yake muone.
Hi everyone. I'm Mercy from Young Women, Positive Young Women Voices. Like I said, we mentor and advocate for young women and adolescent girls in all their diversities so that they can advance their rights to advocacy, healthcare, and economic empowerment. One thing that stands out for us is our work is to humanize young women and girls in all their diversities. We don't discriminate. We don't look at people from a point of where they come from, who they are, who they have sex with and all that. What do? We have a program that is called VOG. VOG is for Voices, Violence Against Young Women and Girls. In this program, because gender-based violence is still an issue that we continue to fight, we are trying to reach out to women and girls so that they realize that gender-based violence is not a thing that should go on. We shouldn't normalize violence of any kind, whether it's sexual, economic, or physical. Another thing, we do mentorship for young girls. Someone's phone is here and it's ringing. We do mentorship for young girls and young women. In this mentorship program, we are trying to create awareness and help these young girls to understand that as they grow up, the things that people have normalized aren't normal. They shouldn't stay in environments that make them less of humans. Another thing we do is we work with young women living with HIV and AIDS. We provide things that they need and help them to live positively because the society provides an environment where there's a lot of stigmatization. And one thing I forgot to say is Positive Young Women Voices is in Dandora, Nairobi. And we all know how the slum works. There are a lot of challenges that we face. Every day you are trying to save a girl from every other thing, from violence, from early marriages, from pregnancies, from someone just making them less human because they can, someone using their power in whatever chance they get. Another challenge that we are facing is that violence, because we have the VOG program that works for violence against women and girls, violence is not something that I think is ending anytime soon. Our work is to create awareness so that whenever violence happens, women and girls are able to report and get the help that they need and get to safe houses so that they don't normalize staying in such an environment that makes them less of a human. And one more thing is stigmatization in the society. With stigmatization, we know that someone feels less of a human being. Their self-esteem is destroyed. They don't have the confidence to face the world. So we are here to create awareness and make young women and girls understand that in whatever circumstance they are in, they can reach out and get the help that they need and make their life better. And then another challenge that we have in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had so many cases of teenage pregnancies. You are trying to create all this awareness and help these girls understand that they are worthy and that they can become better. But then there are people always taking advantage of them. So we're also trying to make them understand that they can do better and become better no matter what the circumstance is. And then another problem that we face is on law implementation. The fact that we have laws in Kenya doesn't mean that they're implemented. A woman will be raped today, she'll report to the police. How do you walk to a police station and tell them that you are raped by your husband? The one fun thing utaambiwa, bwanako amekurape aje, si ndio? Or you'll be following up on everything that happened and this case will go on, and at the end of the day, you give up. Or the perpetrator has all the power in the world to actually make you disappear. So with the media in the house today, I hope that these women are happening, and then tomorrow we don't know what's happening behind it. I hope you are able to follow up on stories. Like when you start it, take it to the very end so that people understand that this was solved in this particular manner. Thank you. You can check our work on pyvw.org. pywv.org. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, my name is Victoria from AFOSI. AFOSI is basically Action for Sustainability Initiative. And our 4 pillars include health, education, humanitarian support, and livelihood. And we also focus on person with disability, living with HIV, LGBTQ, and people that are affected by displacement. AFOSI is committed to improve the lives of young people. And I'm more concerned about health because this is something that has affected me directly. And I'm glad to be here, being vulnerable to people who can listen to me and push what I have. So I have a case story that affects me directly. So my mom is a cancer survivor, and she was diagnosed with cancer early 2021 May. And she underwent a surgery to remove, because it was a skin cancer called dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans. And she went for the first surgery, and they donated skin graft from her thighs to her back. And she had to go for the second surgery because 40% of the grafting did not attach very well. So the second surgery, they used staples to attach it. And she was booked for a clinic for the staples to be removed, but the doctor missed removing more than 15 staples. This was evident after a chest x-ray was done on October 2021. I'm trying to cut the story short. And the doctors were surprised to see that they didn't remove all the staples. So this pushed her for her to be done another surgery for the staples to be removed. But before that, she was complaining of numbness, headache, and on 13th October this year, still with the staples in her back, she had a mini stroke. And when I did my research, according to Food and Drug Administration Board in America, they say they question the qualities of staples that are used, and so many staples are banned in countries like America and the European countries. So to me, this is negligence. And I've yet not found someone who can highlight her story, because I can't, because I'm connected to her, but I've documented it for it to be simple and pushed it to Kenya National Human Rights Commission. So it was so hard for her to be removed the staples, because we went to Kenyatta National Hospital, they refused to remove it, so I had to find a doctor that we saw earlier. I won't mention him because he said he don't want to be mentioned. So hii ikakuwa ngumu sana. So hata hii kutolewa hizo staples, it was like a cover up that was done. So huyu doctor mwenye alimfanyia anajuana na huyu anajuana na huyu. So hata by the time tuende huko mbele kwa hiyo hospitali, they already knew our case, because I was trying to explain to the doctors, and unaona mtu anakata story, hata sijamuexplainia kila kitu vile kunaenda, alafu ananikata. So it was really hard for us. And about health, I think these are cases that, are not told. And anyone who would like to highlight it, you can directly approach me and see what can be done. We have so many stories that die without them being highlighted, and someone who not just highlighting it, but pushing it maybe to the legal ways. Thank you so much.
So that's what brought us here. I don't think we have much as White Ribbon to say today, but we just wanted you to be able to connect with the people we work with so that you can see where the linkages can be, how we can help each other. For those who don't know, White Ribbon is a national led movement for women and girls' health rights. We influence Sustainable Development Goal 3 and 5. Saida, do you know what these goals are? So we work to promote good health and gender equality. That most of our programs are aligned to that. We advocate, fight, but we don't really fight because we think advocacy gives better results for what women want by rooting our work in self-articulated needs of women. Those who've been with us for a while, Saida, Sharon, maybe Faith a little bit, we did a campaign called What Women Want in 2018. And that campaign has shaped everything that White Ribbon does, and that's how we even got to be part of the core organizations for the We Lead project. The What Women Want campaign sought to listen to women and girls on what's your top request for sexual reproductive health services. What is that one thing as a woman, as a girl, when you go to a facility, if it's done to you, you feel like you've received, quality service. And we know, the priorities are many, but what is that one thing? Because we wanted to prioritize them. In 2018, we got, a woman got that, that's what they need. Because when you look at how our policies are done, government wake up, they build facilities. They wake up, they say we've hired nurses. They wake up, they say we are going to do this. But women just want to be respected. And for the rights groups that have spoken, whether it's women of concern, whether it's women living with HIV, whether it's women with disabilities, whether it's LGBTQ groups, it means respect if I'm treated as a human being, if I'm treated without discrimination. Whether there's medical supply, I'll feel nice. I'll be explained the processes. What do I want as a person? They'll feel respected. And that anchors most of the work that we do at White Ribbon Alliance. Women and girls are the experts of their needs. What do we mean? Let's listen to them. What they tell us, we respond. So at White Ribbon, we say we ask, listen, and act. So we ask them what they want, we listen, and our action is linking women, girls, with the rights, with the duty bearers, for them to listen to them, for them to be able to act. Just to give 2 examples of how media has shaped the work we've done. After this campaign, women said adequate midwives were key for them to feel they're getting adequate facilities. So we did a campaign called Midwives Voices, Midwives Demand early this year. And we wanted to listen to the midwives because most often, I'm a journalist by profession, okay? Trained, worked. When a woman dies, we blame the facility, we blame the healthcare worker, we blame everybody. But we've never figured out what is it that the midwives, what is it that the facilities lack that make them not be able to provide that care for women. When we did this survey, midwives said the first thing, of course, is support and facilities. That I am hired, I'm in a facility that has no gloves, the government has not dispersed funds, so I have no razor, I have no blood bank, have no incubators. So as much as I want to give this woman the best, then I can't. But when that woman dies, I'm on the receiving end. So that campaign has enabled us to, work with midwives to be advocates for what they need. BBC, Saida, and Mercy, who is not yet here, but I hope she'll be here, did a story on the day-to-day of a midwife, what they need. And that story has enabled the Midwifery Council to tailor-make a guideline for midwives that are going to be presented to government for them to be able to meet the needs of these midwives. And it's not us. That was media amplifying it. All we did was do the linkage. The same BBC did a story in Bungoma, okay? We have a project we call it UHC for Me, but we target women with disabilities, where we ask, because we know UHC, Universal Health Coverage, us who are here, just allow me to say we are privileged. We talk from a privileged, eye. Most likely, health services are even worse for certain groups of people. So in Bungoma, we have a UHC for Me project targeting women with disabilities. And we targeted 2 facilities, sub-county and a dispensary, where we mobilized women from those villages. Those 2 facilities, as we speak, each have ramps in each and every building in those facilities, and each have adjustable beds for those women. So we can do so much as White Ribbon, as Inuka, as Nyegbo. We can do so much. But there's just more that comes if that voice is given to someone. Maybe an MP will not be here to hear what we are saying here, but if they see it on news, they might say, oh, there's a problem where I come from. If they see it on social media, they'll say, oh, the fact that, Rachel is tweeting this, let me follow up, what is the problem? So we would love you to be our partners in the things that we do. Work with us. We are a non-profit organization. we work to impact and change communities in the little ways. So as we stand here, those two facilities stand as a case study that it can be done if the communities lead the conversation, if they are linked to the right people, and if their voices are amplified to a higher, audience that can just act. So that's why we are here. You've heard the stories from different people. We hope coming to 2023, the project is big and it's getting bigger. This is just first year of We Lead, and we believe it's going to be a massive project that at the end of 5 years, we don't have to see changes in policies, but we can see amendments in acts. We can see health providers understanding health needs of, vulnerable groups. Those are the small changes that we can make. I'll call Ninette, my colleague, to just tell us what We Lead is about. So there are members who are not here of the 10 coalition members. They're online. I'll tell them to drop any questions that they have. But we brought representatives from at least disability, HIV, LGBTQ, so that they can, we always meet. There's so many forums where they meet and they'll be able to take the words to the rest. This forum is usually, so part of you are a network of champions that we've worked with White Ribbon since 2012. So every year I try to recruit someone new, because even media is evolving, bloggers, now we want to get into bloggers, we want to get into influencers, but our work is to make sure that we have channels that touch on each and every angle so that our word can go out there. Is there anything else? So if I reach out to you, now that you're here, just know that I'll reach out to you for campaigns that we do. We do digital campaigns where today is World AIDS Day, okay? We don't have much planned, but the UHC Day is coming, and universal health coverage is a big deal. The government said they've done it, but most of you people here can tell us it's not been done. How can we hold government accountable? I'm sure some of you here, if you tweet, Ruto will be able to say, true, I know them. If some of you speak, parliamentary committees can make changes when they're sitting down. So we'll reach out to you on campaigns that we work on. We want you, next year we want to work differently. Reach out to us. We can facilitate you to be able to amplify these voices. Linkages with people, financial support. If you feel like you want to go to Dadaab and you have a powerful story, we are here to facilitate you. So we want more to come from you because you've had us, but we'll definitely as well reach out to you. Come to us, tell me, Angel, link me up with Victor, but you know what? My organization gives this to this per diem, haiwezi nifikisha Dadaab. How can you facilitate me to get to Dadaab, to stay in Dadaab for 10 days, to be able to tell the stories of women there? We are open. If there's a new person, I'll be requesting you, if you want to join the champions group, we have a group. There are no forwards, very quiet group, only talks when it's necessary, but we keep it going every now and then. So Lynette will give us a brief of the We Lead project and tell us about the power tools. And then we'll invite questions from you. And then we'll take tea again, and then we'll go home.
Thank you, Angel. I think most of us have spoken about We Lead. Angel started by saying that it's a consortium of about 13 organizations that have come together to advocate for access to inclusive health delivery for right holder groups. That is young girls and women with disability, young girls and women living with HIV, young girls and women affected by displacement, and then we have young girls and women who identify as LGBTQI. So WRA in the consortium of We Lead, we have a mandate because of the background that Angel has gave our previous work with healthcare workers and maybe midwives. We have a mandate to interface the right holders with the healthcare system, that is the healthcare service providers. And Angel has rightfully put it, most of the times when things happen, we point a finger to the healthcare service providers. As advocates, even as maybe people who work with agencies of young people on matters they are SRH, most of the time, I think when we sit in our groups, we start by saying the healthcare worker attitude, healthcare worker did that, healthcare worker did this. That is always the conversation, true or false? If you've attended some of these meetings where probably young people or women are talking about their access to sexual reproductive health. So our unique contribution to this consortium is from our previous work with healthcare workers and healthcare service providers, the way programming has been done before, that you talk to maybe right holders separately, you intervene with healthcare service providers separately, and then you design a program. In this conversation, what we are doing is that we are bringing the right holders, the four that I've told you about, together with the healthcare service providers. And what are we using? We have developed some tools, that is the Power Up and the Power On. So we started by first recognizing that the right holders, for them to able to maybe speak up and also probably influence change, they need to be equipped with the right skills. And therefore, the tool we have, we convened a 3-day power workshop, and we were able to equip them with skills on self-care. I mean, every change starts with an individual, true or false? Yeah, so you need to identify your issues first as an individual before you step out. And then the other component of skills that we imparted was self-advocacy, that after you've identified your issues as an individual, what are you doing as an individual to change them before maybe you advance to the next person? And then the other skill we had was self-organize, that what are the kind of steps you can take before maybe you as an individual, again, at that point in time, for you to be able to change. So at Power On, again, after you power up, now we equip them with skills on, after now you've identified things at a self level, how now do you step out to the nearest, that is your community, how do you self-organize? And therefore, from that forum, we were able to equip them with skills on dialogue and community listening sessions. And then they went to their communities and convened community listening sessions with healthcare service providers. Remember, I've said the unique contribution to this consortium is how do our clients or right holders interact with healthcare service provider to self-advocate for change and inclusive health delivery. Because most of the time, we knock on the office of the governor. We knock on the office of the MCA, but sometimes there are changes that can be made by just people talking at a very lower level. True or false? Yeah. So they went ahead in different counties and convened community listening sessions with healthcare service providers and were able to articulate their grievances. Like when we come, there's issues of attitude. We are not addressed properly. Some of them shared the stories that you've had, maybe young women with disability, their experiences at maternity, some of the services they don't get, some issues around commodity in facilities, issues around wash. Angel has talked about wash in the what women want. Even young women or young people, when they are accessing SRH, the condition of the facility, especially for those living with disability. I mean, it's an all array of issues. And then they were able to also, from those conversations, figure out some possible solutions. I mean, something like wash, a facility in charge can just be deliberate and say, I'll buy soap. Can be deliberate and say, I'll make sure that the wheelchair is clean. You know, does that need a governor? So again, we are here as media people. Maybe those are the small stories of how our right holders advocating for some small changes at the lower level. And that is by creating an enabling environment for them to be able to speak to the first caregiver, who is the health service provider at that lower level. After that, listening to one side, and then we were able to collate the different issues, it was very important that we listen to the healthcare service providers, right? So last week, we again had a three-day power forum where we were able to bring healthcare workers to again tell us why are they not able to offer inclusive sexual reproductive health services to the right holder groups that we are talking about. So we started by their general challenges, because health on its own, they have their other challenges, and then it comes to the challenges to the marginalized or the groups that are usually left behind. The whole issues came, it is human resource for health. How and issues around commodity. They don't have commodity, they are rarely taken for training. Some of these issues are emerging. True or false? They were not there maybe when they were in their training schools. I remember they said when they are going through their training at maybe medical school, they're not even, I'll use the term they used, they said they were trained to handle able clients. Do you understand the term abled? And then when they come to practice, they meet people, leave alone even women, with disability. When they were being trained, they were not trained on emerging issues like people who identify differently. They just know that what Ruka says binary, right? And then they come during practice, they have to interact and dispense service to people who identify differently. There are other issues that come along with HIV infections, especially among young people. And therefore, they came back to the whole issue of their training and how maybe they're even taught how to handle some of these delicate issues. Brings us back to leaving no one behind. But our healthcare providers, have they been capacity built enough to a point where they can offer that kind of inclusive health delivery? And most of the responses was no. They too, we were able to also now interact, right holders and the healthcare providers, because we believe solutions don't just happen along policy corridors. They don't just happen among political corridors. So long as maybe there's provision within our policies, even if it's a window, maybe that is the opportunity you want to start with. So by day 2, they were able to listen to the right holders, the challenges the right holders have while accessing facilities, and also they were able to also share in their experiences. And from there, I think some of them accepted that some of the issues that actually inhibit access to inclusive health delivery can be solved at their level without going through the entire advocacy process of knocking through CHMT doors or MCA doors or governor doors or even the president doors. And some of these things are as simple as wash, that we can decide to buy soap. Or when someone comes in, it's a matter of communication skills. Can you just talk nicely and even ask, would you want me to call you? You see? Does that one need a lot of work? It doesn't. So at that point, we were able to have some very few solutions. some very critical solutions that didn't need much, but just people being value clarified and people talking in a very productive way. By day 3, when we were ending, we were forming a multi-stakeholder platform where both right holders and health service providers were able to identify some of the overarching issues that would support WRA in terms of advocacy. And after the whole conversation happened, the overarching issues came to human resource for health. That healthcare service providers, what were they saying? They need further training, continuous trainings on how do they handle emerging issues. Emerging issues are even how to deal with sexual reproductive health issues for young people in their diversity. Their diversity are now the kind of right holder groups that we have and others. They were also maybe speaking about issues around commodity, because when they talk out, atakufanyia, even if you make noise and I don't have, what would I do? So again, there were issues around maybe stock out, because commodity issues, because those were also issues for right holder groups. And I think we ended at that level. And from there, I think maybe from the conversations that have happened and what I've shared, there's so much that the media can do. That Angel has said most of the time, we are here to blame healthcare workers when things go wrong, but we do not highlight some of their grievances and why they are not able to offer the kind of the quality of healthcare that we need, especially for groups that we call marginalized that are usually left behind. So we are calling on you. Some of you are coming from counties that we are working in. Maybe you can also relate or interact with the other core members. They'll be able to share their stories or even tag you along in some of these conversations so that you're able to pick it up one-on-one and even follow up, so that at the end of the day, we are able to give stories objectively by saying, we were in this listening session, we listened to young people and their issues on SRH, and at the same time, we connected with healthcare service providers, not in a very combative way, but in a way where I want to say, jointly, this is what, if these 1, 2, 3 things were provided by who, then healthcare service delivery will be at quality levels, and at the same time, they'll be respectful, dignifying, unifying, and everyone would go home happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. I don't know whether there's anything else we've left. Just to mention that White Ribbon, we have different projects. I know we've spoken about We Lead because the guys here focus on that. But we do projects on gender equality. We do projects on adolescent health. Teenage pregnancies are almost a pandemic in this country. I don't know why they've not yet been declared a pandemic. We do midwifery projects. So any area that you feel that is your niche, we are here for you. We are here to link you to the right people, for you to tell your story better and to support you. Any questions or comments? I don't know why these guys made us hold 2 mics, but it's working for the guys online.
Angalia side gani? Okay, sawa. Use the podium. Thank you for reducing the intensity of the AC we were suffering. Welcome, Chairman. We see you. Nachoma. So since I stand guided, good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and other very important persons. I mean, tulienda group of schools, sindio? We learn quickly. So I just want to push back, and in the spirit of having an open mind, just to help us understand how the newsroom works, so that when you're approaching the media, you don't lump them into a group because you'll do yourself a disservice. Identify people who are passionate about telling these stories and those who have been trained on the language to use, right? We have some of them in the room, Mora Obiria, Sharon Momanyi, Saida Swale, and there are many, many others who, if you link up with organizations such as mine, Amwek, we can link you up with them because it's not easy for you as an outsider to know who to approach, isn't it? I'll keep it short and sweet. Nimeandika kitabu mzima hapa, but I'll keep it short. First of all, just so that we also understand, the newsroom, I started out at Nation Media, went to Citizen, and now I'm with one which is, can I say regional? International. Yes. So what I've realized, the difference between international and local, the Kenyan ones. The local ones are very patriarchal in nature, and we understand the word patriarchal, right? So you might pitch a story to Sharon, to all the people who have mentioned in the room, but when she goes back to the newsroom, her story is killed, right? Because she's not a decision maker, right? But I want to challenge us to look beyond traditional media. If you look at someone else like Dorcas Wangira, she used to be at Citizen TV, now she's at the BBC. She has won a lot of awards because when her stories were killed in the newsroom, she'd have them published elsewhere, right? And we are talking about amplifying these stories. Where her stories were published were an even bigger platform than Citizen, KTN, Nation. So let's think beyond and not limit ourselves to the local guys. You can try so that you say, at least I tried. Then when that fails, now look for plan B. We are together? Number one. Number two, also in that point of patriarchy, you know how patriarchy works? Patriarchy shames people who don't look like them. Sindio? That's why one of us was talking about a clip that was sent to a particular media station, and it was showing the LGBTQ community in a negative light, and that same clip was shared around different media houses, and you're wondering, what is wrong with the media people? So if you understand that the media is patriarchal, you'll understand why they're doing that. They're kind of
enjoying it, for lack of a better word. And that is why even during the time that we had many femicide cases, I pitched it in the newsroom and they asked me, how come when men are killed, you women don't make noise? Rachel, go and be an activist elsewhere. So let's not blame journalists because they do try and then they are shut down. But let's look at how we can help them when they are shut down. And there are organizations that do this, such as White Ribbon Alliance. There's one other one called Rural Women Peace Link. I was training journalists with them in Turkana. There's another organization. There are many, so if we can network and identify which ones they are, the ones that give journalists grants to do these very important stories. Because you realize most of the time the media, it's politics. Politics is what is shown from 9 to 10. But you have desks, like BBC have a health desk. Nation Media have a gender desk. So they're intentional. They have leaders in there who are intentional about amplifying these stories that we're talking about. Lastly, another one is Femnet. So I know some of us said when we leave here, utakuwa unatupigia simu, tupigie simu so that we get you in touch with these guys, right? I'm sure we'll share each other's contacts at some point. Aside from Amwick, najua napigia debe Amwick sana, there is an International Association of, I think, journalists in radio and TV. There is Kenya Correspondent Association. It's easier to reach, identify individuals when you go through the associations. UN Women, is it, or UNESCO? One of the bosses reached out to me and asked me, Rachel, we want to tell the story of Ethiopia where women who lack access to maternal health services, their stories are not getting covered. So who would you recommend that we can take to Ethiopia to tell these stories? Because they have realized when they send a press release, it will either be, delete in the email. It will be deleted. So they have realized another way to do it is create a relationship with journalists who tell these stories. And that usually works more than approaching a media house in general and saying, KBC, Nation, we want coverage, we are having an event. Identify a journalist who can do this story for you, and not just that one single story. Work with them, right? Work with them, you as your organization, you as an individual, you as an advocacy rights, work with this media individual so that they are part of your journey. And I also must mention, there are media houses that have not paid their journalists for the past 2 months, right? So this is why I want to emphasize on grants. There are organizations that offer grants to journalists. They tell them, cover this topic, cover this situation, and then we will pay you a certain gratuity fee, logistics. They call it something, but it incentivizes the journalist to cover the story because the journalist is also human, right? They can't come and cover you and they don't have something to eat back at home. I've finished my my quite passionate pushback, but I hope tunaelewana, yeah? So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else? And it's true, I've been a journalist, but they per diem yako inakwanga ni 2.5. Go to Kisumu 2.5, find your accommodation, eat. There's also it's motivation. It's not really pain, because we can't pay these people. If you see the replica of, in PR, they say media buying, PR is that story that is authentically told by a journalist without, an influence. If you advertised that, you'll pay 5 times. So it's facilitate, make their work easier, motivate them to move, easily and comfortable. Victor? You have to come here because there are people who are online. Huyo ni mtu mkubwa, atatuambia amechelewa kwa nini.
Okay. It's not a question, but I know media is doing a great work. Because as you know, I know we are beneficiaries, and more so with our work in advocacy around Kisumu region and sexual gender-based violence. I think I've enjoyed the teamwork in media. Because mimi ukijaribu kuhide story yangu kuna venye naenda itafika. So that is one thing that I know, that when we can work together, then our story can be told. Just a few days, I think last month, you saw there was PHC Summit in Kisumu. we were the host. And I think the summit for Lake Region Economic Bloc was covered by almost 11 media stations. Some of them, I don't know who invited them. You know why? Because one thing I realized that you people can tell us when to hold event. And that is something I can share practically. That if you want to sell at some point, ask the media, they will tell you there is no event this day. So make sure you do it that day and everybody will be in your event. Yeah, like I know on 9th of December, don't do the UHC on 12th. We are going to do it on 9th. You can join us in Kisumu. Because I know on 12th, everybody will want to listen to the president holding the first Jamhuri Day. And that will be the first national holiday atakuwa nayo, si ndio? So story yangu itakuwa huku chini kabisa. Hata itakuwa. Yeah. So basically, by default, I think I was supposed to be in the media, but I didn't go there. So at some point, I've learned how to interact and how to bring on board on this. Another thing is that you can recall our press was read in almost all the stations. It's just because I would wish, however much I know journalists are very important. Do we have editors in the room? Huh? Yes. Yeah, because I realize this is a team that has people who do advocacy. Sometimes we have engaged much with journalists. Very good, they will collect the story. And they know what happened. Ili ende pale juu. Yeah, so I will still urge White Ribbon that we expound our network to get the key editors. Sometimes unaona story ingine inakuwa aired hadi ulize, why this? Was it necessary? And then an important story has not been aired. That is. And then another thing I can call for is consistency in documentation. There's a time, Odera, we documented Nyakach, the gang rape in Nyakach. Something happened. And then we called on this year, asked them, if you want to hold 16 days of workism, if you don't do it in Nyakach, then there's no need of doing it because that is where we have the real cases. And I think the other day we had the bigger event in Nyakach. But can I tell you the funny thing? That yesterday, a 16-year-old and a 5-year-old girl was defiled. And the chief called me, Chief, mzima ananipigia. Ati, mkubwa umejua hii kesi inakunywa maji. Niko hapa station, and this is what is happening. I have the video when they was trying to interview the 5-year-old. Now, hii inafanyika 2 days after 16 days of activism imefanyika Nyakach. Sindio ilifanyika on 25th. 3 days, let me say. Na hiyo kesi imefanyika jana. I was called, kama niko hapa Nairobi, to respond to it. And there's a time I called, again, the journalist, and I said, it is good to do a story and go back and assess that story. And then you will be able to also say that we did this has been the change. But the response, sijaona kama hiyo follow-up wire inafanyika vizuri. So I will request, follow-up is very good. You recall the story that, I don't know who did it, but I can give kudos to them. I think they were in partnership with KMET. The story in Bungoma, the woman who was delivering on the floor and so on. I think it was KMET with other nini. And you see consistency. Everybody was coming to follow up every step, and they were listened to. So I will still request that don't do a one-off story, it's boom there, and then now it's okay. Come pick the small. In advocacy, we say, even if I make 1 step and I needed 10 steps, that is a plus. So consistency, that is also something I'm still calling. Lastly, there is something that used to happen. I don't know where it went to. There were some community reporters. Like, I'm envisioning where our stories can be shared by non-journalists. we tried this with World Vision, and I can recall it made some people, where you train some people who pick community stories, hands-on, and they give you the raw the way you are. Because there are things that itakuwa imefanyika. So even if you come, you will not get the real story. And I saw World Vision doing it through, they had community reporters trained. We were able to get into the community, get the real story venye inafanyika. I can recall that was the first time I was being told how to use this small digital camera. And by the end of the day, we were sharing the actual stories that are happening, the way they are happening. And so, before we go up here, again, this one goes to White Ribbon. It is good to have this team on the room. But this team, I'm saying it is good to have us here, but this team cannot be everywhere. And because you thrive in community initiative, why don't we thrive in community journalism? That is not a must, I have to be a journalist. Anybody can tell a story, by the way. Storytelling can be said by anyone. If we can get it right, and we get even women on concern who can tell a story, and maybe they have no internet, but they can walk into a NUCA office and put it online and share it with you. And then you streamline it that it fits a media. Somebody does it somewhere. Do you think how many stories we can tell? And if it is maybe a dashboard for stories, how many people will we reach? Food for thought. Thank you.
Okay, so actually, we do a lot of community journalism, a lot. Kevin from Kariobangi, Kevin, if you could stand up. We've been working with Kevin and a group of about 12 people in Kariobangi for the last maybe 5 to around 8 years. And he submitted a global story that was shortlisted as number 3. He didn't win, but they were number 3 globally. On respect and how they had shot a film on respect for young girls in the slums and how they experience discrimination when when accessing facilities, and also homeless families. So we'll do that wider because these are the connectors to the main houses. They just need to connect. Let's see the hands up so that I can see. Saida, you don't want to talk? We start with Winnie. Winnie? And then we go to her first. I'm shocked that she didn't want to speak, I am shocked.
Hello everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Gadhoni Kuria, as I had said. I am a freelance journalist, and I have worked with the Daily Nation before. I have worked with NTV before, and the reason for being a freelance journalist, I think you have heard something that we take stories sometimes to the newsroom and they're just killed, and it's so demoralizing when you want to put out something but it can never get space in the news lineup. So I'm here to speak about maybe we should also focus, as we focus on the international media, also the blogging is very important at this point, because in blogging there's no cap. We don't have, the language also is, you're free to speak out over there. That is bloggers, local media, and international. We are also important as a team. Now, I want to say something that maybe it has been looked at before. This is my first time interacting here, but I'm glad to be here. And this is about the lawmakers. As much as we sit here as media, as much as we do community journalism, as much as we amplify this in the boardrooms and everything, we need it to be law at the end of the day. That is our final win, when something can come from this house called Parliament. Are we together? Are we together? I know when politicians are mentioned, then there's just that shun, but I think they are very important people to have in these conversations. And I noticed this with with a recent event we had on data and privacy, and there was a parliamentarian who was in attendance, and he was so interested in this, and I wanted to pick his mind on such issues because such issues are not known to them. This is why they push their own agenda, because we do not interest them with some things like these ones. So if we can hold their hands, or if we can pull them closer to us, than just look at them as these are politicians, they cannot help us, we know them, we should also try and have them in these rooms. If we have them in these rooms, I can tell you for sure they are interested. They want to know, but they have no idea. Some do not have some of these, the education and the knowledge that you have. They don't. And this is why they can never stand in those houses and push for some agendas or even correct some acts that have been, passed over there. So that is one challenge I'd like to throw to the media. Let us join up with legislators, and that will help us also as we push these very serious and important and crucial agendas in the community and society. Thank you so much.
Good morning once again. So my name is Francisca Ndinda. I come from Mathare Radio to be specific. But one thing my colleague forgot to mention is AFOSI is also working with community medias to talk about issues with SRH, if I'm not wrong, yes. And I can say for adolescents, because I've heard we're also dealing with the White Ribbon is also dealing with adolescents. I can say one challenge is misinterpretation in terms of, you see, for us, we are comfortable with anyone in the community. They can share their own stories with us, and it acquired. But now, you see, when other media stations come, they'll twist. I don't know how they normally twist it, but you get up a lot of people, they fear talking about sexual reproductive health. So for me, this is a challenge. It's an opinion. If we can collaborate with community media, because ametoka Mathare North, but uko ni mbali from ours, right? There's a lot of small communities in Mathare. So if we can also join other media station, it will be really nice, like to talk about easy issues, because I have a young lady who is now 16 years. She has 2 kids. You understand? But no one taught her how to, about sexual rights, So alidanganya tu na boyfriend yake alikuwa sijui 15 yake wa 14. You get? So these are stories that we need to tell, and also we be bold at it. Asanteni.
And that's what the linkage with community journalists help. Because you will go to a facility, the girls are very comfortable talking to these ones about the community journalists about, access to family planning. But when they tell you they wanted their faces hidden, you didn't hide them. Such things. So when you link with the community journalists, they will be very easy to just continue, free to tell their story in the best way, in the most comfortable way.
Once again, Larry Otaba from Population Media Center. And mine is just an observation, or more or less a comment. I'll give it by form of example. I had said earlier that our approach to mitigating some of these issues are through radio serial drama. I'll give an example. In 2021, we were mitigating FGM, family planning, matters, nutrition, and GBV in Garissa, Kehancha, specifically Kuria East and West, in Nyanza, specifically Kisii and Nyamira. And how we did this, just to show us how powerful media is, serial drama sort of transcends a lot of barriers which are created, and I've heard in most of what we are saying, I can sort of identify how difficult it might be to navigate some of these spaces in media. Like you said, you have your story, you have no idea who to approach, or whether even your story will get airtime or the light of day. And we have so many stories to tell, whether it's in Dadaab, it's in Nairobi, it's in Nyanza. If you just do sort of a survey, you'll find that a lot of these issues are sort of interconnected, and they are not in isolation, as it were. There are a lot of people experiencing some of these challenges in various regions, and one thing that stands out is they have no idea how to go about probably reporting their story. They feel that their voice is so small, or that no one is paying attention, or that even if they tell their story, then what? You know, will they get the help they're looking for? Will they get assistance? An example which she just mentioned earlier is that some of these cases are simply because of either lack of information or the wrong information being peddled. If we are dealing with matters SRH, and you go to the communities, you'll find that a lot of decisions which have led people into certain spaces in their life is simply because no one taught them about SRH, be it the adolescents, be it the young mothers. Some things have been so ingrained in our system, and people have grown up with them to a point where they do not actually see whatever it is they're doing as a vice. You know, it's so normal that you're the one who is strange to come and tell us that, you know, this thing is wrong. So what serial drama does is we sort of collect, let's say, as an example, I take a story from each table in this room. It's based on fact. It's something that actually is happened or has happened. And because everyone has a chance to voice their story, we sort of merge these stories depending on, let's say, the area of focus. If we are mitigating one thing, we can say we are deciding to deal with, let's say, adolescent sexual and reproductive health, and we take cases and stories of people who have gone through some of these challenges, you know, and we forge a character in our story, and this character will champion our cause. And we can take a very young girl of maybe 13, 14, 15 years, and we take her through this journey throughout the drama. Now, everything is based on fact. This happened to this young girl. She underwent this. She gave birth slightly before her exams, you know, and we all know these stories. But how we package this story is such that we dramatize it. And in the drama, we equally educate. And like in our approach, what we did, we had over and above the drama in itself, we had like every month, twice during the month, we had something we called an interactive show where we would discuss the ongoings of the drama, but still bring in an expert, like let's say someone from Marie Stopes. We can get someone, let's say, from the anti-FGM board. You know, we get a survivor of someone who's gone through FGM and the likes. And we have experts on our panels who then discuss some of these issues, and the public is informed. You get accurate information, and sometimes we even host what we would call or describe as victims of some of these things. It sort of creates an anonymity, but your story is told and is heard. And we equally refer people to centers where they can actually get help depending on which region we are targeting at a time. Whether it's in Nairobi, we tell you if you encounter such a challenge, let's say you're a victim of rape, this is how to proceed, and you get accurate information and such like matters. I think we are all here in this room not because we are powerless, but because we are powerful. In the next sort of phase of things as it progresses, one thing which I've noticed a lot of donors are gearing towards is the concept of leaving no one behind, whether it's the adolescents, whether it's the LGBTQ community, whether it's persons living with disability. I think once we come to forums or spaces like this, where we engage with journalists and CBOs and CSOs and the likes, we get to know collectively what are the gaps in some of what the issues that we are mitigating come across, and we find a way in which we can fill some of these gaps. So I'm really grateful to be here. Let's be our brother's keeper, because some of us know these stories. They happen next door to us, and we're in positions where we can be able to be the voice of our neighbors and share these stories with the rest of the world and find a solution to some of these things, because we're all affected one way or the other. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I take this chance to appreciate the feedback that we've had from some of our partners. Once again, I'm Modera Wycliffe, a radio journalist based in Kisumu County. I work with Milele Radio, and also I'm part of various media forums down there. I'll appreciate our partners that enabled us to be here. Ruka, once again, thank you very much. To our partners and our new partners, one challenge that I'll want or I'll wish to pass is, you know, this journalist, uko chini mashinani, covers a lot of things. Or maybe there's a way you'll want the team to cover your stories. The aspect of training. You might be having training opportunities within your programs or your projects. Kindly enlist or include the said journalists to be part of your partners' training. Some of the mistakes that have been mentioned at times can be averted if you identify a particular journalist or journalists you want to work with, make them part of your whole journey. To Nyebo, it's good that you've mentioned some of the stories and the challenges you're facing down on the ground. On behalf of my team, it's not a big team, we promise to come down to Bondo and even highlight on some of the projects. And I know we've done it before. Vic ametestify hapa kwamba when we went down to Nyakach, when the cases of rape and defilements zilikuwa mingi, thanks to the media stories and highlighting of such cases, there should be a safe house somewhere now around Nyakach. So such partnerships is what we call for. And we promise to continue huko chini mashinani. It's a big network of journalists. I know much energy and much media power is down mashinani. So to our partners, also, who are the journalists you're working with? Because maybe umetumia mmoja amekudisappoint. Please don't give up on the media. Because, for instance, Kisumu has close to 150 journalists. So if one disappoints you, will you kindly try to have a network to work with around? Isikwe ule mmoja story ikiuawa sasa hiyo jina inabakia the entire media fraternity. I will say that the present media is changing. We are part of the community. We are moving with the community because we understand the challenges and the issues that happen in the community. So to our partners, once again, let's work together. Ile media ya kuita for the launch of projects, and when now the final, wakati project inafungwa, inaisha, you know, it created the gap between the media and the partners. Can we work together? If you are having those community discussions, will you kindly engage the media? If you are having those community trainings, as I've said, if you're having even the committees, is there media representation in those community or those village-based committees that help you implement your projects? I say that because there's a project the media in Kisumu was involved in that was towards peaceful elections. And for instance, saizi ukiangalia stories zinazotoka Kisumu, apart from the Nairobi people who come down there, and the international media who you saw the other time, they were disappointed that there were no stories to tell around Kondele. So the media is changing. So once involved, the towards peaceful elections, it was a success story, and some of our colleagues were awarded for their contribution towards peace in Kisumu and its environs. So pamoja inawezekana. Asanteni sana.
Tumemaliza pesa yenye uli invest. Okay, but maybe Ruka might want to speak after me because I'm going to mention her. So you might want, maybe you'll want to speak after me. I'd like to start my short presentation with a question. There was a story that aired yesterday that featured Gladys Wanga holding a baby of a mother, a teenage mother, who'd just passed away. And the story basically featured Gladys Wanga holding the baby. All of us in the room, what was wrong with that story? Not you. The people who are not in media especially, what was wrong with that story? Yes? Endelea kidogo. They changed the focus of the story, right? Because there was a huge opportunity there to highlight a case of this young girl, but they chose to highlight Wanga holding the baby. So what you're saying is that sometimes the media gets it wrong. We are not the sole bearers of the truth. We like telling the truth, but sometimes the framing is what matters. And that for me was a teachable moment. And I'm wondering whether there was any CBO, any NGO that even came out with a statement to correct that. Because most of the time we are not self-correcting. We'll give maybe, you know what we do? We do like one line and saying we apologize or something like that. Something very, a text you can't even find in a small font, you know, at the back page somewhere. But I think for me, those teachable moments are also advocacy moments, where you hit the road while it's still hot, you make the noise when it matters the most. So I don't know whether anyone did something about it who's in the room today. Or did we talk about it in our offices, in our WhatsApp groups, and then we moved on to the next story, right? So we also spoke about, I'm just reacting to some of the things that I heard. We also spoke about, I don't know who it is from Madare who spoke about young girls being comfortable talking about their stories to the community media. And then when it gets to the corporates, the big media houses, the story changes, you know? The girl ends up sort of being either defamed, being sensationalized, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. What I'd like to say is that you actually have a right to complain. And people just need to be taught their rights. They can go through the media complaints committee. Is it a committee or a council? Yeah? People actually you have a right to complain if your story is not in the true format in which you intended it to be, or in which you shared. And then the other thing I'd like to just reinforce is what Rachel was talking about in terms of just know who the editor is. Most of the time, you need to know the editor. You need to know who's on that beat. And if you're working for an NGO or a CBO or these advocacy groups, and I think you also mentioned that, you need to know who is interested in that topic, who is the reporter there, who is the editor there. Because if you just do a blind call or a blind email, then it doesn't really make a difference. And then finally, I'd like to talk about the LGBTIQ topic, which we started with. And I like what Ruka talked about in terms of humanizing the intersections. I think maybe one thing I'd just like to point out that I found to be an issue, when you spoke, the language that you used was very technical, on the assumption that everyone in the room, for example, understands what non-binary is. Like me, I was like, huh, what is that? I've heard people talking about it, but I don't really know what it is. And so what I'm talking about is, again, those teachable moments. Like when you're holding the mic, then that's the opportunity to sort of demystify the concept. Because as we rightly put it, it's quite a mysterious world for most people, even editors in the room. I remember one time we were invited by HIVOS. I'm a member of the Kenya Editors Guild. And one time HIVOS invited us to discuss this topic. And you can imagine how divisive it was in the editors group. You can imagine how many Bible verses were quoted. Because even as editors, we are also humans. Hata Quran ilikotiwa. We are also humans. And we lean towards our biases. But at the end of the day, any good editor worth their salt will actually be driven by curiosity more than their biases. So if you demystify this topic, if you offer packages of information, if you invite editors to a meeting, an editor worth their salt, and I see Sharon is nodding, you will go, despite your biases, despite your leanings, and so on and so forth. So any moment you get to demystify your topic, and I find this to be true for most NGOs, they use very technical language. I've seen so many acronyms today. I'm almost, my head is just rolling. AFCOM, AFPP, do what, what. By the time you're getting out of there, you're like, what? Your head is just spinning, right? So we don't know everything. We need to be taught. So any teachable moment, please use that to educate the journalists, to educate the editors, and just draw them in using curiosity. I think I'm going to, before I end, I don't know whether I speak as much as Victor or more than Victor, or less than Victor. Okay. The other thing I really like preaching about is solutions journalism. I think the topics that we spoke about today, there's a lot of sadness and gloom around these topics, and because it's a very harsh reality. I think the one that touched me the most is the person with disability. I think the lady who's also has HIV positive, or no? She has 2 children, no, 1 child, 1 son, who is a sickler. You know? So news is supposed to be depressing. So that is news, and it's gonna be depressing. But I think my point is, with solutions journalism, you still stay true to what the news is, to the sadness of the situation, the gravity of the situation. And then you provide, for example, with your CBO or NGO, there's a solution you're providing to this girl that is very sustainable and that can be copied by other people going through a similar situations. So the solution journalism will focus on that. I'm going to end that here. Yeah, so I'm just going to invite a closer partnership in storytelling. Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to respond?
Maybe the forum like this next year, if we do it, it should be like a workshop, you know. We can partner, we go somewhere for a few days, you know, even us, you know, like who are supposed to be members of the core, we're also learning, you know, how to call people, how, you know, so that we can humanize every situation, so that, you know, inclusivity is key to what we do.
Continue having these conversations and even learn from one another. And also, like, do value clarification for those biases. And, like, we recognize the fact that we are human. We come into these spaces with our values, with our beliefs, with our opinions, with our experiences. But then, as a professional, as a good journalist, then how do we ensure that whatever we are reporting is a lived reality of that particular person and not hindered by our biases. So this is the first of many. Definitely so many other learning opportunities will present themselves, and I'm really glad that there is this first roundtable to meet, exchange contacts, and continue the conversation.
Apart from Mark, I don't know whether anybody did not introduce themselves. Did you, Sharon? Okay. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're based.
I have to. Wakona bundles. Wakona bundles. Good morning, everyone. First of all, sorry I'm late. My name is Mark Otani. I'm a digital strategist and a media owner, swalanyeti.co.ke. Na tunasimama na wamama. I was late because nilikuwa nimesimama na mama somewhere else. So I'm just continuing what I had started outside. Otherwise, I'm happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to join my good friends here for such noble causes. I hope I'm forgiven.
Anybody with a pressing something to say? Okay, Sharon, of course. Our Uni chairman, Uni Chaledi.
I just really want to thank our speakers today, all of us. Oh, Allah. Now go banga podi, I'm lucky. I just really want to appreciate the session that we've had. We have learned a lot. I like what has been said about how to effectively engage with the media. There's absolutely nothing I can add to that. It's just a call. What I want to add, it's a call to all of us, both our trainers, our partners from the NGO world, and us as journalists who've been here. Saida has left. Angel. There's a number of us who we've been in this beat for about a decade now. So we are really passionate. Hata si kazi, we are passionate about it. And I think the onus is on us to also carry on the next generation of young communicators, young advocates for the same. And what does this involve? As we have talked about, this kind of journalism that we need for the messaging on gender, maternal and health rights and all this, it's all about passion. It's advocacy journalism. And a lot of the misinformation we are getting, the stories packaged in a way that is not impactful, is because it's just an idea that is thrown in the newsroom that can land on any journalist, on any desk, on any of that. But if you work with people who actually are invested on impact, you're telling stories because you're invested on impact, then we see the kind of impact that we have been seeing working together. So the onus has been that. Let's identify. I know in Standard Group already we have younger journalists who are very interested in that. So how are we supporting them in terms of the training that we've been receiving? When I joined KTN, Angel will not tell you, I was right by her footsteps. She was even voicing my stories on this kind of features. So it's that kind of support that I think we need to get. And it's not just in the traditional newsrooms, perhaps mostly not that at this phase that we are in. We need to work with the influencers who are passionate, who can reach a wider group to share the messages that we want. And why is that important? Because it's easy for this kind of special kind of messages to have the wider audience say, hii ni conversation ile ya wale wa mama. This is conversation for that, the gender people. This is the conversation for the she, her, and the alphabet group. It's very easy for people to say that, right? So even how we frame our messages, we, the people in this room, are the people to also help. When we have a big thing to discuss, if we are throwing an agenda to be shared on these media platforms, to not just share it that, let's talk about this. Let's also help in the framing. How do we frame the messages that somebody else who is not even just not interested, but has not sat down to wrap their heads around why this is important, that we can draw them in. So bringing in the younger people and helping to frame the messages that we take out there. Asanda, asanda.
I have one more person. Just name where you are late and who you are, what you do.
All right. Good morning. I came early. Okay, naambiwa nifike hapa mbele. Let me try. Thank you, Angel. You're an angel. I was never taught to speak after my bosses. Sharon spoke. I'm Nicholas Wambua from NTV. I came early. Yeah. No, the time that I come, that is a list for me. So thank you for this session. It was a quite educative one. I'm a champion with WRA. We have worked with Kina Angel. She was also my colleague some times back. It's a good opportunity to be here. So whatever you do, always have a purpose, focus. And these discussions, ziko kwa jamii zetu, si ndio? I think it touches on everyone. So it is up to each and every one of us to be part of this discussion. Angel, what do women want?
What do women want? You're a champion.
No, I asked you the question.
Oh, women want equity in health service for me.
Yeah.
Not every woman wants something. I want equity in health for women.
Yeah, but in regards to WRA, yeah, so these are discussions that we all need to be part of. And I'm happy and I'm proud to be part of this team and part of these discussions. So, asanteni sana. I think nimeongea wa mwisho. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Nicholas was our newest recruit last year. I think Gathoni will be our newest recruit this year. So every year we try to recruit. We said midday, wengine tumeretire, others are coming. So if I reach out to you, you're the best people to suggest. Who can we add then we bring them on the table, they start getting the discussions. With that, I want to say thank you all for coming. I look forward to engaging you in the next years or few days to end 2022. But 2023 will be big for us. And I look to engage you, all of you. As I said, don't wait for me to come. Sometimes we are so busy. Come for us. We definitely will always have a space for you. Come for us. If you see something that you want to do, we'll also come for you. So as we come to an end, we have some few gifts for you for coming. As you power up, please stay powered on. I will send these tools for you, particularly, I'm sure most of the core members have the tools. They're very good tools for community organizing. And in that, there is also very good tools on how community journalists can learn how to do journalism in their communities. Then you see Lillian. Lillian, lift your hand as you leave. We know people use Ubers, so Lillian will be able to facilitate your Uber for those who came from Nairobi. I know there are people who came back, slept in a hotel. Lillian will also be able to sort you. We can have one last round of tea, but we don't have much time, maybe 20 minutes before we are chased away. But let's eat. The food is ours. It's paid for. And get to know each other. So thank you very much. Let's clap for ourselves. Thank you very much. Finished. Online people, thank you for joining us. Oh, I wanted to play Kevin's video because I'm very proud of this team. They did this video for the Respect campaign. It was called Respect Means, which is a global campaign that sought anybody wherever they are to submit a video of what respect means to them. The winners were winning 500,000 Kenya shillings. They became number 3. They were champions here, so we'll see how we'll keep on supporting them to amplify this. But I believe next time they'll definitely win. So let's just see what they did.
What happened, sweetie? I remember that day my brother came home. I guess he knew my parents were not in. So he had a knife in his hands. He threatened me, took me roughly into the washroom, and defiled me. I had done something wrong, and he just left. After a while, few months, I guess 5, I was pregnant and I had to go to school. At school, it wasn't easy. I was expelled due to pregnancy and sneaking out of class. I couldn't go home.
So what did you do?
Just decided to go wherever. On the way, I was insulted. And at some point, I started bleeding profusely. There was this woman who came to my rescue. I passed out, guess, because when I woke up, I was at the hospital. The doctor, she wasn't that good either. She was like, "You're a kid and you're pregnant," as in carrying a kid.
What?
Yeah, can you imagine? I couldn't take it. I couldn't. After losing my child, that's when I decided to start advocating for the respect of the pregnant.
Respect our women. Respect our women.
Respect our women. Respect our women. Respect our women. Respect our women. Respect our women. Respect our women. Respect our women.